Hi, this is M.D. Shivana Sutana, working as Associate Professor in the Chegul Engineering College, Chegul. Today I want to discuss about scanning electron microscopy. In the last lecture, I discussed about the Solgen method, Beck method, TEM method. And in this scanning electron microscopy, it is mainly used in this process to focus beam of electrons of high resolution for getting the three-dimensional images shall be used, and these images, it provides the information on topography, morphology, and the composition. So this, coming to the working of the scanning electron microscopy, the electrons are generated at the top of the column of electron source. Here, this is the diagram. This is a construction of the scanning electron microscopy. In this, the electron source is fixed at the top, and the sample should be fixed here. After that, below the electron source, the anodes are attached. Below the anodes, the condenser lenses are attached. After that, scan coils are attached. Below the scan coils, objective lens are fixed. And near the objective lens, two types of detectors are arranged. One is a secondary electron detector, and the second one is a backscattered electron detector. Backscattered electron detector is placed just above the sample to collect the scattered light which are emitted back. And the second type of detector is a secondary electron detector, which is placed at the side of the sample. So the electrons are generated at the top of the column of electron source. They are then accelerated down the column under the pressure, which helps to prevent any atoms and molecules present in the column from interacting with the electron beam and ensures the good quality images. The electromagnetic lenses are used to control the path of the electron. Next, the condenser defines the size of the electron beam. Condenser lens is there below that. That condenser lens is, the function of this is, it defines the size of the electron beam. After that, scanning coils are arranged, which are used to faster the beam into the sample. After that, the objective lens are fixed. That objective lens, it plays a main role in focusing of the beam into the sample. And different types of electrons are emitted from the sample upon interacting with the electron beam. That emitted light electrons should be detected by means of two types of detectors. One detector, it is placed above the sample to help to detect the backscattered electron. And images show contrast information between the areas, the different chemical composition as heavier elements will appear brighter, and lighter elements will appear dull. And secondary electron detector is placed at the side of the electron chamber at the angle. Yeah, secondary electron detector is placed at the side of the electron chamber at an angle in order to increase the efficiency of detecting secondary electrons, which can provide more detailed surface information. This scanning electron microscopy can achieve the resolution better than 1 nanometer. Better than 1 nanometer. So this is about the diagram and the working of the scanning electron microscope. Coming to the graphene. Graphene is a one atom thick sheet of carbon atom, arranged in a honeycomb-like structure. And this graphene is considered to be the world's thinnest, strongest, and more effective and conductive material for both to conduct both electricity and heat. And it has several applications in the fields of electricity, conductivity, energy generations, batteries, sensors, and more. Graphene can be used to make the transistors, which are chemically controlled. And graphene's high electrical conductivity and high optical transparency make it useful for application as touch screens, liquid crystal displays, inorganic photovoltaic cells, organic photovoltaic cells, and organic light emitting diodes. And it can be used to make the sensors for monitoring a vital crops in agriculture industry. And graphene, if it is in the form of an oxide membrane, that is used in separation of the liquid and the gases. That means it acts as a permeable membrane. And this graphene, if it is used in the traditional lithium-ion battery, it is used in the lithium-ion battery. Then the graphene, it works like the quick charging equipment and it holds more power for longer time. And if the graphene, if it is used as a supercapacitor, it provides a massive amount of power by using much energy than conventional devices. Graphene can also be used as a coating material to improve the current touch screens of phones and tablets. And flexible wearable electronics take the advantage of the graphene mechanical properties as well as the conductivity. So this is about the brief introduction or the brief information about the graphenes. Based on this graphenes only, the carbon nanotubes and the fullerenes are prepared. The carbon nanotubes, these are the compounds which are formed by the rolling of graphene sheets. The graphene sheets are rolled in a desirable shape, a desirable mold. That type of rolling graphene sheets will form the carbon nanotubes. Coming to the structure of the graphene sheets or the carbon nanotubes and the fullerenes, these are all the carbon-containing elements, carbon-containing structures. In this, the carbon atoms are linked in the hexagonal shapes. And these carbon atoms, they are covalently bonded to each carbon atom. They are covalently bonded to 3 other carbon atoms. See here the structures. These are the structures of carbon nanotubes. And these carbon nanotubes, these are the sheets of graphites of about 0.4 nanometer in diameter, rolled up to make a tube of few nanometers in diameter. These carbon nanotubes are otherwise called bucky tubes. Bucky tubes. And this, the buckyball carbon nanotubes are strong and they are not brittle. They can bend. And when released, they will spring back to its original position. And the graphene sheets are rolled in different forms, which have different mechanical properties. They can be rolled in the form of an armchair, and is having that special type of mechanical property. And it can also be rolled in a zigzag manner, which is having the another mechanical property which is completely different from that of the armchair. And depending upon the number of layers present, carbon nanotubes is again classified into 3 types. They are single-walled carbon nanotubes, double-walled carbon nanotubes. These are the multi-walled carbon nanotubes. This is called single-walled carbon nanotubes, which is also known as SWCNT. Double-walled carbon nanotubes, which is also known as DWCNT. And multi-walled carbon nanotubes, which is also known as MWCNT. Single-wall carbon nanotubes are special class of carbon material, which is having one-dimensional material. And they consist of sheets of graphene rolled up to form the hollow tube with the walls of 1 atom thick. And this single-wall nanotube will have a property that differ considerably to those of the graphites, that is a bulk carbon graphites. Due to its chemical structure and dimensional constraints, this material exhibits exceptional mechanical, electrical, thermal, and optical properties. The properties of the CNTs are: it is very strong and stiff material in terms of the tensile strength, which are covalently bonded, which are in the sp2 hybridized form, and have the kinetic property multi-walled CNT carbon nanotube are multiple concentric nanotubes nested within one another, which exhibit a striking telescopic properties, whereby the inner nanotube may slide without friction within its outer nanotube. This property is utilized to create a smallest rotational motor and mechanical oscillator. Coming to the electrical property, because of its symmetry and unique electronic structure of graphene, carbon nanotube is semi-conducting with a very small band gap between the valence band and the conduction band. Because the electrons propagate only along the tube axis and involves the quantum effect, this carbon nanotube is referred as one-dimensional conductor. Coming to the optical property, I already mentioned here it is having a very good optical property also. Optical property is due to the absorption of the photoluminescence and Raman spectroscopy, which allows the quick and reliable characteristic of this nanotube quality in terms of non-tubular carbon content. Coming to the thermal property, yeah, it also exhibits a very good, exceptionally thermal property. It is a very good thermal conductor and exhibits the property called the elastic condition. Since single-wall carbon nanotube at room temperature has the thermal conductivity of about 3,500 watts, which is more than the copper metal. Because the copper will have only 385. The temperature stability of the carbon nanotube is 2,800 degrees centigrade in the vacuum and 750 degrees centigrade in the air. And coming to the toxicity, this carbon nanotube possesses the toxicity. Under certain conditions, the carbon nanotube can crosses the membrane barrier and reaches the organs, which induces the harmful effect like inflammation, fibrotic. That means fibrotic means the toxical changes in the lungs and causes the cell death. So it is very toxic in nature, especially to human beings. Coming to the synthesis of the carbon nanotube. Carbon nanotube can be synthesized by 3 methods. First one is a arc discharge method. Second one is a laser ablation method. Third one is a chemical vapor deposition method. Here, this is the first arc discharge method. Second one, laser ablation method. Third one, chemical vapor deposition method. Coming to the first method, which is known as the arc discharge method. The arc discharge method, this method was first used by the Sumio Lizima in the year 1991. And this CNTs, that is a carbon nanotube, was observed in the year 1991 in the carbon suit of graphite electrode during arc discharge. First production of CNT, carbon nanotubes, was 1992 by an arc discharge at Fundamental Research Laboratory, America. Carbon nanotubes are prepared by the arc discharge method consists of the reaction chamber. See here, it is a construction of the arc discharge method. It consists of the reaction chamber in which the inert gases should be taken inside the reaction chamber, and two electrodes, which is made up of the graphite, are arranged one above the other with separating the distance of about 1 to 4 millimeter in distance. And these two graphite electrodes are arranged to the battery. And one electrode acts as an anode, another electrode acts as a cathode. After that, after passing the current of 18 volts, see here, this is a reaction chamber containing two graphite electrodes separated by a short distance of about 1 to 4 millimeter, and the chamber is filled with the inert gases such as the helium and the argon, and the current of around 18 volts is applied across the electrode. The carbon atoms are ejected from the anode and gets deposited on the cathode. That means after the application of 18 volts of electricity to this battery, the anode electron, it gets ionized and the carbon is ejected from the anode and it gets settled on the surface of the cathode. That deposited carbon contains carbon nanotube. See here, the black carbonaceous deposit contains a CNT. And whatever the produced CNT will have the less structural defect with better property. And the product obtained, that is the yield that is obtained through this process, is up to 60%. Next, coming to the second method, which is known as the laser ablation method. This method was first developed by Dr. Richard Smalley at Rice University, USA in the year 1955. In this process, here this is the construction. In this process, the pulsed laser vaporizes the graphite target. This is a graphite target in a high temperature reactor. This is a reaction chamber in which 1200 degrees of temperature should be maintained inside the reaction chamber. At that high temperature only, the laser lights will vaporizes the graphite target. And the inert gases are blended in the chamber. The nanotubes developed on the cooler surface is a cool collector, water cool collector, which is made up of copper. The nanotubes, whatever it is developed, it deposited or collected on the cooler surface of the reactor as a vaporized carbon condenses. A water-cooled surface is used in the process to collect the nanotube. To improve the yield, the composite of graphite, metal catalyst particles like the carbon monoxide and nickel mixture was used to synthesize the single-walled carbon nanotube. The yield of this process is 70%. The reaction temperature, what I told you is 1200 degrees centigrade we are taking. The reaction temperature determines the diameter of the single-walled carbon nanotube. And this method, it is very expensive than arc discharge method or chemical vapor deposition method. The third method I'll discuss in the next lecture. Thank you.